What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Hero of the Week. This week's Hero of the Week is the beautiful Yuna. Yuna is a playable character in Final Fantasy X and the main protagonist of its sequel Final Fantasy X-2. However, the version that we have got here in Dissidia Final Fantasy is the prior, which is the High Summoner Yuna. Yuna is the daughter of High Summoner Braska. She's honest and very determined person. She embarks on a pilgrimage to obtain the final Aeon and to defeat Sin. She is very proficient in defensive and white-based magic, and she uses a staff as her main weapon. Although later on in Final Fantasy X-2, she would drop the staff, preferably with the twin pistols. However, we still don't know if we are going to be getting that version of Yuna later on in Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. Here's the fingers crossed to that. So now that we know a little bit something about Yuna, let's take a look at her weapons and armors. The first one is the Magistral Rod, which gives her the affinity ability bonus of HP plus 340. The next one is the Astral Rod, which gives her the affinity ability Enchant, which makes Esuna affect all the party members. And then we get another 15 CP weapon called the Umbra Rod, which gives her the affinity ability Surging Lightning, which turns her Brave attack to a Thunder Elemental Brave attack, which grants a low probability of gaining a small speed up for 3 turns. And finally, we have her 35 CP weapon, which unfortunately is still not out here in the global version of the game. However, this gives her the affinity ability Fate's Blessing, which turns Cheer into a AoE ability and grants the Brave gain to all allies. This also improves the effects of Fate's Protection and grants Spira's Protection and a small attack up to all allies as well. This turns her HP attack to HP attack plus while Fate's Protection is up. Spira's Protection grants Brave Regen and raises the max Brave. Now let's take a look at her armors. The first one is the Onyx Ring, which gives her the affinity ability to get max Brave 220. And her 5-star armor is called the Rainbow Ring, which gives her the affinity ability Will of Life and Bravery, which gives her an HP plus 680 and an initial Brave plus of 110. Now that we know all her armors and weapons, let's take a look at her active and passive abilities. The first one is her Esuna, which removes all the target's debuffs and raises all party members' Brave by 1.2 times Yuna's initial Brave. This also has a low action delay. Her next ability is called Cheer, which has 2 different versions. The top one that you guys are seeing, which is the target gets a Brave of 1.5 times their Brave, is the global versions of Cheer. The bottom one is the Japanese version. So at this point in time, Yuna is quite different from the global version and from her Japanese version. The Japanese version grants Fate's Protection for 5 turns. This raises the target's Brave based on Yuna's attack, then increases it further by 1.5. Fate's Protection raises the initial Brave and increases the defense by 10%. And finally, we have her HP attack plus, which slightly raises the Brave before inflicting an HP attack. This requires the Lullaby Rod's passive ability, and the condition is it needs to have Fate's protection up before you can activate this ability. Now let's take a look at her passive abilities. Again, this is her Crystal Strength 1 to 50. She has Brave Guard up, Esuna Light, Esuna Brave Gain, Ability Speed High, Cheer Charge, Esuna Charge, Start Veil, Cheer Light, and Fate Doctrine. Now once level 60 is released and the Crystal Strength goes up to 60 as well, the first one that Yuna can learn, which is her passive ability, is the Crystal Strength 54, which is Brave Danger Base Up. This slightly raises the initial Brave when the Brave is below their initial Brave. Next is the Esuna Extend, which slightly raises the Brave provided by Esuna and grants a +1 turn to pre-existing buff, which can only be used once. Buff Boost is the next one, which moderately raises the max Brave while buffed. And finally, at Crystal Strength 60, we have Cheer Extend, which increases Cheer's max uses by 1 and slightly improves the effects of Fate's protection and slightly restores the target's HP. So now we can finally take a look at the artifact passives. Now the first 4 is available in the global version, while the last 2 here is only available in the Japanese version, and that only happened through an event as far as I know. So I'm gonna list down the artifact passives that we have in the global version, which is Rapid Speed, which increases the speed for 1 turn after breaking the enemy. Stealth Attack, which raises the Brave damage when she is attacking an enemy that is not targeting her. Bravery Esuna, which raises the Brave by 10% of the initial Brave after using Esuna. And Bravery Cheer, which raises the Brave by 10% of initial Brave after using Cheer. Now, like I said, this last 2 is only available in Japan, which is the Esuna Charge Boost, which increases Esuna's max uses by 1 and raises the max Brave by 40%. And the next one is the Buff Attack and Boost All, which raises all party members' max Brave and attack by 10% while buffed. Now let's talk about the artifact passives that you want to get for Yuna. Well, there's a huge disparity between the global version of Yuna and obviously the Japanese version of Yuna. For the global version, I do suggest having the initial Brave Plus and Max Brave Plus as well. Now the reason for this is quite simple. Why I pick initial Brave Plus 170 is basically because it actually scales way better than the Bravery Esuna. Yuna has actually a initial Brave base of 1272 at level 50. Simple math suggests that basically having a lot more initial Brave Plus will just give you a ton more Brave for your party. The max Brave is there because you're going to be capping on Brave a lot since you are a Brave battery type of character. As for the third one, this will be generally be up to you. I would prefer the attack plus 108 because later on when we get the 35 CP weapon in the global version, this will sync up quite nicely with the small attack up that it grants. However, if you want to concentrate a lot more on being a Brave battery, then by all means get Bravery Esuna at this point. Since Bravery Cheer isn't an AoE party Brave ability, the Bravery Esuna is actually way better than the Bravery Cheer. Now, if you are playing in the Japanese version, which I have very little experience of, I did play it for a couple of months, but I sort of didn't have enough time to actually keep up with 2 games of the same type, and I sort of like put that aside. Then it's an obvious choice between the Asuna charge and boost and the buff attack and boost all. The number one choice here for me is the buff attack and boost all, because this raises all the party members max brave and attack by 10% while they are buff, which sure enough they will be buffed. Of course, you have to have her 35 CP weapon to grant Fate's protection for 5 turns, so effectively this is probably the best one to pick. And the next one is the Asuna charge and boost, which gives you an extra use for your Asuna and raises your max brave by 40%, which is huge. The third one is just going to be cheer brave gain or Asuna brave gain, because initial brave will lose its effectiveness because this will be at the level 60 crystal strength, so this is probably the better choice. So we're finally here again at the last segment of this video. It's time to talk about the synergies and my final thoughts on Yuna. Let's start off with what Yuna is like a character. Yuna is a magic support brave battery type of character. She has excellent HP and initial brave, and she has good defense and speed as well. However, she does have atrocious attack and max brave for her stats. As for good synergies, you would do well to partner up with a lot of the DPS characters, especially someone who actually has a high brave to begin with or a high max brave, because you're going to be doing a lot of the brave battery with her Asuna ability. Now, as for the summon, this is quite different. I actually prefer Yuna to have the brother summon for her summon of choice. The reason for this is because it actually grants you 20% more brave if you are using the brother summon while your HP is above 80%. You can also bring in Sylph here because she doesn't have any natural healing abilities like in the game. I mean, in her original Final Fantasy X game. So having a race debuff evasion rate of 30% while you have Sylph, plus the ability to heal as well, will immensely help your party. Not to mention, Sylph summon speed is actually quite fast as well. So in the end, the question remains, should you invest in Yuna? My answer to that is a resounding yes. If Yuna is your favorite character, then you're in for a treat. She is one of the best brave battery type characters, with Asuna having a ton of uses. I do believe 7 uses in the global version at this point in time, and later on we'll have 8 max uses in the level 60 era. Plus, you can get artifact passives to increase the amount of uses for Asuna as well. So there are a lot of good things about Yuna. I mean, her attack is atrocious, but you wouldn't really be attacking. Your main role will be giving brave to the other party members. Now, obviously, if you're into the DPS type of character, then you shouldn't be investing on Yuna. But if you like support type characters, then Yuna is definitely one of the good ones in Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. Not to mention, in the future, when they finally release the 6 stars or the 5-star artifact passive to begin with, and then you can upgrade it to 6 stars, you have access to Asuna charge and boost, and buff attack and boost all. I do believe only a few characters managed to get these passive. I do believe Aerith had one as well while I was playing the Japanese version, and she had her new set of passives as well, and this makes Yuna very, very much viable in the future. I mean, she's viable now, and she's only one of the few characters that can remove debuffs. Now, other characters can give you extra buffs so you can remove the debuff that way, but Yuna can naturally just remove it completely. So she is one of a kind, and I definitely recommend, if you're into the support type of characters, then Yuna is definitely the character for you. Anyway guys, I think that's it for this video. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. As always, I'd like to hear from you guys what you think of Yuna. Are you one of those people who actually like Yuna, or you're one of those people who prefer the DPS type of characters? And remember to always follow me on Twitter and on Facebook at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.